Hey everyone, what is up? I'm Pranav Gaikwad and welcome back to my channel. Firstly, thank you for that love and support you all gave me on my first video. I really appreciate that. Today we have Ishan Varnikar, a student who's pursuing his masters in embedded systems at University of Michigan. So without wasting much time, let's dive into the video. Hey Ishan, how are you?
I'm doing well, Pranav. It's good to see you after like 4 years. It's been like I think
Yes,
for more than 4 years that we've met. And this Zoom is like it's the new form of meeting.
I
इससे
know,
काम
right?
चलाते हैं अभी ठीक है कोई मौका मिले तो मिल लेंगे.
Okay. So, just to make everyone familiar, Ishan was one of my seniors in NIT Goa. We had met in the Toastmasters club of our college, and I must say he's a terrific public speaker. Welcome, Ishan, to the second episode of I Am Talk.
Oh, is it? Thank you. It's the second episode. Thank you, Pranav. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So, just for everyone, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Okay, so yeah, so I'm Ishan. I was with Pranav in NIT Goa where I did my undergrad. Post that, I was working with Siemens for 2.5 years. I was with the service team there. I was in charge. Rather, I was with the technical support team. So we would provide support to customers of Siemens across the world. And I quit my job in December because I thought I'll do my master's here. So right now I'm doing my master's in embedded systems from the University of Michigan here in Ann Arbor. And apart from so that's my academic introduction. Apart from that, I am a part of Toastmasters. Uh, I play music when I get time, and I also play a little bit of badminton just to freshen my mind. So that's about me.
So, as you said, you are from the EC department, right? So, what programs were you eligible to, like as a EC undergrad?
So if you look at master's programs here, there is basically one branch which we target all EC and computer science undergrads from India. It's EECS, Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. So it is one branch when you come to US. But then it depends from which university you go to. They have multiple specialization. Like if you go to say Purdue, you'll have a different specialization. Within University of Michigan, in EECS, we call it EECS. So within EECS, we have I think some 7, 8 different specializations. Embedded systems, we have VLSI, we have uh, applications of microwave, RF microwave. What's it called? Application of electromagnetics. So
Okay.
ऐसे बहुत सारे branches होते हैं, but the big header is electrical engineering and computer science, which EC undergrads from India go to.
So, why did you choose specifically embedded systems as your masters?
Okay, so okay, so this is a story. I was doing my undergrad research in RF communication. So I was doing my research in that with the antenna design and stuff like that. Then I got a job with Siemens. So I was always in contact with one of my professors in NIT Goa. His name was Ankit Dubey. Okay, so
Okay.
I've always been speaking to him regarding my research, regarding my job, even before I came here. So I was in constant contact, and I just once we were having a conversation, we spoke about RF and microwave engineering and antenna design. So he said, even though since I was working with Siemens, I was with this smart city and automation is in that field. Okay, and that field was coming up. So that is why instead of going ahead with RF and microwave, I thought I could just do my masters in embedded systems so that all this can be covered, right? Automation, robotics, communication, all these things come. And I have a background in that. It's just that my research was not there. So I thought it was a good change of branch. So people do a lot of things to change their branch. People do MBA to change their branch completely. So I thought this was a good opportunity to slightly change my field from RF to automation and embedded. And come on, embedded systems is the future. Robotics ये सब तो आने ही वाला है अभी automation. So it's a very hot field right now, and I was working with Siemens where I had sufficient experience of all this. So yeah, I thought it was a good choice.
Okay. So, and why did you choose US for this specifically?
Okay, so US, because there are two. I think people look at mainly two countries, US and Germany. Germany, mein, I think the
Right.
education is free. Probably that's why a lot of people prefer that. But I've heard from a lot of my seniors, my friends back in the US, that technology-wise, the infrastructure-wise, American universities are better. It's not America and Germany per se. You should look at like which university you're going to. So I had also applied to ETH Zurich. So that was not in America, but it's one of the best universities in for electronics and communication.
ETH Zurich.
ETH Zurich, yeah.
Okay.
उसका नाम स्विस में है, so don't ask me the full form. Okay, it's ETH Zurich, and it's one of the best universities for electronic and communication. So it's not US like per se, but yeah, you need to look at the university which you're going to. And US has a good choice of universities.
Okay. And so, what was your GRE and TOEFL? Did you give GRE and TOEFL?
Yeah,
Was it
I gave
waiver?
both
Yeah.
GRE and TOEFL. My GRE score was 316 and my 340, I think, yeah, 340, and TOEFL score was 112 out of 120.
That's good. Amazing.
It's good. So it's just a filter. To be honest, your admit is not dependent on your GRE score. Never. Okay, it's your profile which matters. GRE score. It's like that first filter where you give, okay, 300 के ऊपर है, then I will check your profile. Otherwise, I will just not look at your profile. It's something like that.
Right. So now since you were talking about the colleges, which universities did you apply to? Do you have
Okay.
the list? Yeah.
I have the list of universities I applied to, and I'll be honest with you, I had never expected that I will be sitting in Michigan and doing my masters. And I took a big gamble. Okay, normally what students will do is they will have this 4 or 5 over-ambitious, 2-3 over-ambitious universities. You'll have a couple of universities which you look up to, and then you'll have these 2-3 safe which you'll definitely get. Okay, but I took a big gamble. मैंने ये safe और ये कुछ किया ही नहीं. मेरे जो 7 universities I applied to were all over-ambitious. Okay, I did that because I had a job, so I could take that risk of gambling for 1 year. Okay, so I did that. I applied to Stanford, MIT, Purdue, UIUC, Michigan. Okay, and I think I applied to UC Berkeley and Caltech. Okay, they are all top there. They're all at the top, and I was getting rejects one after the other, and I was chill because I was expecting that. Okay, and I thought एक साल I'll take a risk. Things work out. If they don't, अगले साल ठीक से ये protocol follow करेंगे. What is that? Best, ambitious, good, and safe, and we'll apply again. So it's a risk which I took, and Michigan is the only admit I got. So it's a gamble that worked for me.
Amazing. So other than these, the GRE and TOEFL score, what other factors did you have in mind while choosing? The rankings, especially, you had.
When you choose universities, you look at rankings are obviously there. So you look at the course ranking and what are the courses that they offer. So embedded systems is a course which not many universities also here offer. Like embedded system specialization nahi hota. It's like EECS hota hai, and then these specializations differ. Okay, EECS is always there on top, and the specializations differ. So I would normally check professor profiles and what they are working on. And if that suits me, then I would apply to that. I also looked at US ranking. US News has a ranking of universities. US News has a ranking of universities. So that was
ranking.
US News ranking. So that was the first thing. मैंने वहाँ पे सारे universities का ranking देखे, and then I checked like which universities are good for electronics and communication. And then I went to their website. You look at their professors. Whom they work on. Then you always have alumni who you can speak to. LinkedIn पे जाके Michigan type किया तो you will get all Michigan के students who are there. You can speak to them. You can ask them who's the professor, what they work on, research क्या चल रहा है यहाँ पे. And if that matches your field, if it matches your interest, you go ahead and apply there. That's how it works.
So apart from this, how did you find the coursework? Because I know coursework would be one of the things that you had in mind while choosing these universities.
So when I was choosing my universities, coursework was there, and I checked the coursework for Michigan. I checked it once I got through, because initially, as I told you, I did not hope into I had no chance of getting to any of them. But एक बार Michigan मिल गया, then I had to see what I was going to do. So fortunately, I had one of my friends from Goa who was here. Okay, he's my roommate right now. So I could I could get stuff from him. So he's also from Leeds. He was also in embedded systems. So I had a very good like क्या बोलते हैं induction बोलते हैं ना induction like a information before you come here. I had a very good session like that way. Uh, so what are the coursework? What are the subjects that we cover? What are the subjects which you should take? So Michigan has one thing that there are so many courses here. Okay, you'll go mad choosing courses. And it opens and it's like hotcakes. They open and within like 3-4 seconds they're all over. That's how, because everybody's online and selecting courses. That's how it happens. So you need to do your research before for all the courses prior to selecting. You should have your list together. That's how it works. So he being here, his name is Deepen Solanki and Shreyas Parab. I think Shreyas Parab is from Goa GEC. So Shreyas is here and Deepen is not here. Deepen already passed out. So that helped me a lot. And yeah, I had to do research in all these courses which I was taking. And before you start your master's degree, you need to submit your plan of study for your entire master's course. Okay, that's the protocol here. So even I've submitted all my courses which I'm planning to do. And based on what you want to do after 2 years, whether you want to do a PhD, masters, किस type के university, किस type के industry में तेरे को enter करना है, depending on that you choose your courses and you get it verified, or you take an opinion of your faculty advisor. If he says okay, you go ahead, and that's how it is.
So the duration, like you mentioned, is 2 years, right?
So here the duration is up to you. You can do it in 2 years. You can do it in 1.5 as well. So normally what Indians do, because you're coming to the US, you end up spending a lot on living expense and all these things. So ideally, वो एक thought रहता है कि पैसे कैसे बचाए. So people in UMich, what they do is they will finish their semester. They'll finish their course like masters in 3 semesters. It might not be the case at every other university, but the fee structure here allows you to do that. So how it works here is beyond 9 credits. So we have a 30 credit requirement for a master's degree, and we pay for 9 credits. Okay, whatever you take above 9 credits is free for you. Okay. So normally people will take 3 semesters, so it will be 10-10-10. Okay, that's the best combination you can take. So again, that differs from student to student. I would personally suggest, and what I have also got from my seniors, is you normally load 2 semesters heavily, and then you take the 3rd semester very light, the last semester, because that's the time you would want to spend more time looking for a job, attending interviews, and that time you won't be able to give time to your coursework. So that's how things work. And if you take less than 9 credits, then you pay per credit. So, and it's $25,000 for 9 credits. Okay, 9 or above. And if you take like 1 credit, then you pay $3,000. So if you do, just imagine, if you're doing it in 4 semesters, then you end up paying like somewhere around $75 a minimum. Like, okay, if you do it for 4 semesters. But if you like, what I have planned right now is I've taken 14 credits for the first semester. I'll be taking around 10 or 12 in the second, maybe 12, so that becomes 26, and then 4 in the last. So you got to plan your semester that way if you're coming here. By the way, I don't know if this facility is allowed in all universities, but that's how it is here. Okay, things are university specific. A lot of
yes, 9 credits is compulsory in every semester for every institute for international students, I guess.
Here it is not like that. We can take even 1 credit for the last semester. So that flexibility is there. But mind you, University of Michigan is a little costlier than other universities. Okay, so it goes both ways.
So what was your I-20 amount?
My I-20 amount was, I think, $73,000 per year. Okay,
per year.
That's quite costly. That's very costly. Is it 70? I think it was 73. But what I calculated from, like, if I calculate for 3 semesters what I'm going to spend, I'll be spending a total of, I think, $55,000 for my entire course tuition fees. So it's less than my I-20 for 1 year. So yeah.
So how are you managing the finances, like loan, and how is it?
Okay, so as I said, I was working with Siemens for 2.5 years. So my savings were there. So my first semester, I will be using those savings, and I'm looking at you get part-time jobs here. I mean, Corona is horrible, right? There are no jobs right now, so that's why I don't have a job here. But normally you get jobs as graders, you get jobs in lab instructors, you get there's something called standing graduate student instructor
GA.
GSI.
Okay.
Okay, and if you get that, that's like great. Your tuition fees are waived off. You get paid every hour you work, and you get a different sort of health insurance, which is also paid by the university. So it's not like so. University of Michigan is a little different in terms of logistics as compared to other universities. Okay, even the semester wise, like I think I just told you about the credits and all this stuff might not be there. Even the grader positions, the lab instructor positions, which you get in other university, are not the same here. The benefits are different, and even getting them becomes equally difficult. Okay, but yeah, it's not that you don't get them, you get them. Graders वगैरह मिल जाते हैं, but you don't get GSI, and GSIs are like a prestigious position here, okay, for students, because if you get GSI, you are actually doing your semester free of cost, and plus you get paid for doing your semester. Whereas the graders are you just get a pay like for the work you do, and that's how you manage your semester.
So how much is generally the like cost you are
It depends
paid
from
per
job to
hour?
job. A grader, you normally get paid $12 an hour. Okay. If you get a GSI, then you get a stipend. It's I think $2,000. I think $2,000 per month. I'm not sure. That's something. Yeah, it's quite an amount. Okay. And then you have different other jobs, like there are diner jobs. Okay, you go to the dining hall and you work there. There also you get paid around $10, $10 or $12 per hour. So there's a entire website for jobs in University of Michigan. Okay, it's called, like, if you go to the careers portal in the university website, you'll find an entire list. You'll find computer operators, you'll find clerks. So it's like everything in this university campus is managed by students. All right. So whether you go to the gym, like you go to the recreational center, all the students will be there, will be helping you out, say navigating. The one with the reception also will be a student. So all these jobs are open. Okay, and you just need to go on the career portal and apply to them, and you get them. So getting a job is easy. It's just the GSI position which is quite prestigious and difficult to get. Other ones normally people get those positions you get.
So generally, what is the living cost that everyone is facing over there?
So because of COVID, it's a little low now. So normally, right now the prices are around. So this flat which we are staying right now, it is we four of us stay in this flat and we pay $1,500 per month. Okay, so it comes to around $400 per head. So yeah, and that's so everybody shares rooms here, right? That's how that's how students stay here. So yeah, around $400 per month is your cost of the flat. Okay, only your flat. So, and then there are living expenses as well, but that depends on how you stay. So you will have your utilities, which come to around $200 in the winter, because your entire home is now heated up. So during the winter it comes around $200. During the summers it comes to around $100 per month for the whole flat. Okay, so then that gets divided. The good part here is in Michigan is you don't end up spending a lot on food, because food is free here. There is a university, so there's a university store. Okay, it's called Mason Blue Cupboard, and you get practically everything that you need for a good meal there. You'll get meat, chicken, fish. You'll get rice. You'll get veggies. You won't get the luxurious stuff. Okay, you won't get Indian stuff. You won't get tur dal and all this kind of stuff. But what you need for a meal, okay, you'll get eggs, milk, you need rice, you need vegetables, all these stuff you'll get. So basically on food, you don't end up spending much when you're in Michigan. And and the transport here is free for us. So even that cost is like, you save on that. So it's like, you start calculating, right? You start calculating, okay, how much have you paid for your tuition fees? And then you see, okay, I'm saving on my food, I'm saving on my transport here. So you got to calculate that way as well if you're choosing Michigan as a university to do your masters.
So this is your second sem, right? So
no, this is not my second sem. I'm a fall admit, but I just came in winter. I deferred my admission because of all that's happening around us, man.
Okay, so I don't know how much this question will apply to you, but what difference did you find out in the teaching learning process you had back in India and here?
Uh, so the teaching learning, it's very different, to be honest with you. So how it works out here is, in India you have like one mid semester, one mid semester, one end semester, and a lot of class tests. I don't know how much of the weightage is for class tests, and like it's mainly your midterm and your end semester which works. But at least for my master's degree, all my courses have just one exam in the end, and that counts for 30% of the grade. And the rest everything will be homework and assignments. All right. But the good part here is there's something called honor code which we all follow. Okay, that's like we don't go honor code. It's called honor code in the university. Nobody copies code and stuff like that. So yeah, so there's a lot of weightage on the work you do throughout the semester. Okay, there'll be your assignments. You'll also have a project for each course that you do, and that also has a weightage for your grade. It's not like you only answer your exams and that's what is counted. So you might have a bad day in your exam, like on your examination day, but you might end up having a good grade. Okay, because you work throughout your semester. So that is there. And another thing about the teaching here is it's in India you will not find this a lot. Every faculty who's here is somehow related to the industry, who's not, I wouldn't say associated, but he has experience in the industry. So whenever any concept is taught, whenever anything is covered, normally he will always speak about how it is going to be applied in the industry. This is the problem industry is facing right now. So we can, this is how it is being solved. Like even for today's machine learning lecture, I've taken machine learning in my first semester. So in my machine learning lecture, he was speaking about email spams, how you classify email spam and not spam. So this is a real world problem. Okay, and what are the algorithms Google use to classify them? So we speak about all these things in class, and that's how these lectures get interesting. It's surprising though. A lot of, I think every faculty here relates whatever we learn in class to the industry problem.
So how many theory and practical classes do you have?
Okay, so the thing here is the courses are hybrid. I have, for this semester I opted for only one lab, but all the courses which we implement some sort of code and we look for output. Okay, so I have one embedded systems laboratory wherein I go in person to the lab and do stuff, whereas others all theory classes are online. But yeah, we do implementation of code for almost every course that we take. So whether it is machine learning, whether it is like embedded systems, even in like what is that? The lab which I do, even there is coding. So you end up coding and implementing stuff. But physically lab एक ही है अभी. For the first, you choose your courses, right? So you can choose more. Like, normally I have taken only one lab right now. There is a lab which I'm planning for next semester as well. So yeah, you choose your courses.
So for a new person, like now freshly graduate, what prerequisites would it be like necessary for opting this course?
Okay, so that depends from course to course. Normally, all the graduate level courses, the only prerequisite is you need to be an undergrad. Okay, but then there are some courses wherein you have prerequisites of say matrix algebra, linear algebra, and they'll be mentioned in the course. Like for machine learning, there was a prerequisite of matrix algebra, and I'm not sure if that is covered in depth in our undergrad. So you need to know these prerequisites prior, or else you will just be a little lagging behind. But you can make up for it. It's not that you will just you'll be left alone. That's not how it works out. But if you speak to the professor, they'll always give you an override, even though first of all, the course website will not allow you to enroll for the course as a prerequisite. Okay, you need to email the professor saying, I don't have this prerequisite. However, I will, like, I have this knowledge, but I don't have it on paper. Like, for example, if it's not a part of my undergrad course, I don't have that prerequisite. Okay, but I have done this somewhere and I have that background, so I'll be able to cope up. And then he gives you permission to enroll for that class. Like, for example, matrix algebra was never a core subject for me in undergrad, but I did a matrix algebra course online last year when I was working matrix algebra and machine learning. Okay, so that helped me. That helped me to enroll for this course. So there are prerequisites for every course that is there. Okay, the thing is the prerequisites which are there for the course are as per the coursework here in undergrad. So normally, like the machine learning course which I've taken has an undergrad course which teaches you matrix algebra and stuff like that, which we don't have there. So in that cases, you need to either email the professor saying I have knowledge, but you need to have that knowledge. Okay, that's the prerequisite. You need to actually have that knowledge, or else, yeah.
Right.
So course-wise, that thing works.
So now the last question which I'll ask you is, what advice would you like to give undergrad students who are watching this right now?
Okay, I'm not a preacher who's going to give you advice, but I can obviously tell you what has worked for me. So what worked for me is always keeping a good network with people. Okay, and see, it's like when you normally do something which you constantly keep learning, your experiences will always matter, and be sure that be always assured that you need to have a very strong profile. Okay, you need to keep developing your profile in whatever you do. May it be say you get a job. For me at least, my first job was not like it was that that the salary was not a factor for me, and I would always recommend that your first job be a field job. Okay, like it should not be a documentation job. Or a lot of engineers end up doing documentation jobs in the industry. Okay, so I would normally suggest undergrads who are passing out to not to have a first job which is on field, because it gives you a hands-on experience on what the industry needs, and that really adds it really adds to what basically what are you doing in your master's and PhD. You are actually solving problems, right? So you will not understand the problems if you're documenting an Excel sheet for 2 years after your undergrad. So a field job is necessary after your undergrad. And secondly, your network should always be strong. Once you enter the industry, your network is going to be your best friend. That's how I see it. In fact, we started this by speaking of Toastmasters. So Toastmasters, I joined Toastmasters initially because of a different reason. Today, I'm still a Toastmaster because of a different reason. Okay, so right now my Toastmasters membership is only it's mainly because of that network which I have in Toastmasters. And the good part is it always gives you that community where you say go abroad, even if right now I'm in the US. Trust me, there is when I came here, there was nobody who I knew. Okay, I have a few relatives, but they stay miles apart, miles away. But this Toastmasters community is always there who can guide you. Okay, so that is one advantage of Toastmasters. And Toastmasters has professional people as well. Okay, so your network, your profile, and your experience has to always be very strong if you're planning on something, doing your masters and stuff like that in a university, in a great university in the US or wherever in the world, wherever you do your masters. So yeah, it's not an advice. It's something which worked for me. It might not work for someone. Might have done his masters without all these things. Okay, so it's something which worked for me. And yeah, I think that's more or less what we can do. And yeah, keep learning and just enjoy what you do. Yeah.
Right. Keep learning and enjoy. So would you recommend this course at the University of Michigan? How much would you recommend?
So if you want to select University of Michigan, so as I told you, I did not have a choice. Okay, I had opted for these high universities and I got one. I didn't have a choice. I went ahead. And luckily, the course which I have taken here had the things which I liked and wanted to pursue. So for me, it was a straightforward game. But if at all you ask me if I had a choice of choosing between Michigan, say, I don't know, maybe a Texas, okay, University of Texas. Okay, brand-wise, both are completely different. Okay, but one thing when you come in the US is your salary after you graduate after you do your master's from University of Michigan will not be, it won't depend on University of Michigan. Okay, even a master's student from say at University of Texas and University of Michigan will both be sitting in the same interview. Okay, they'll both be interviewing for the same companies. So likewise, it's not कि IIT board से pass out हो तो your average package is 10 lakhs. You are from IIT Madras, your average package 25 lakhs. That's not how it works here. Okay, but so and likewise, you will not be spending so much if you're doing your masters from Texas University. Okay, how much you'll be spending here? But if you are given a choice between NIT Goa and IIT Madras, saying your ultimate output will be a 10 lakh package, what would you choose? So that's how you look at it. Okay, so at one place you will be spending a little bit more, but that the brand of University of Michigan will stay with you throughout your life. Okay, but the other end, you might be spending a little less on your coursework, like on your tuition fees, but yeah, but the job you'll be getting is the same. And secondly, you need to see which course you're going to. Okay, not all courses will have the same job offerings in every university. It really depends on the place you go to. Okay, like I'm not sure. I think Texas. I said Texas because it just came off my mind. But Caltech also is very costly, but it's one of the best universities. You can go to Caltech, UC Berkeley. They are all great universities. Or Purdue, but Purdue is relatively very cheap as compared to Michigan. So if I had got an admit in Purdue and Michigan in the same days, I would have thought a little bit कि मैं कहाँ जाऊँ. Okay, but yeah, it's a choice which individuals have to make as students. तुम्हें क्या करना है आगे जाके. Okay, the only thing that's different here is, as I said, IIT Bombay, IIT Madras या IIT Goa, package तुम्हारी same रहेगी. Okay, it's just that the brand which you get will be different. All right, yeah, that's how you need to make your choices here.
Okay, Ishan. So that's all I had for you. And thank you so much for taking out your time. I really appreciate it.
Don't worry, I'll send you the bill later in USD.
Thank you so much. So I hope that video answers most of the questions that you all have. If there's anything that you like, dislike, or have any suggestions or any thoughts about the video, you can comment down below. I would love to read your comments. And also do put in your requests if there are any. Thank you so much for watching the video. Goodbye.